And here we go. Digital Adele back with another Hoops profile. Behind the back, well, no, college to the pros segment, actually. We've kind of eliminated those titles. So I got to come up with a new opening for the show since we don't use those titles anymore. But I'm Digital Adele. That's Matt Hanifan. We're here to discuss the transfer portal and this little thing that's happening over the weekend that you may not have heard about called the NCAA Tournament, the Final Four.
Huh?
What? What is that? How are you doing today, Matt? What's up, man?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. We're kind of at the point, I don't want to come off as like a negative Nancy, a guy who sounded like he just ate a bunch of sour grapes. But I'm kind of at the point in the NBA season where I'm just like, we're in like the dog days of April. It's just like, can we get to the playoffs already?
Right.
That's kind of where I'm at. But other than that, man, I'm doing good. I'm doing good. How about yourself?
I am doing fantastic. I'm feeling good compared to where I was a couple of weeks ago. Got through a full game, NBA game on playback. So who knows? Maybe I'll be able to, get through some of these Final Four games and host some of these on playback.tv/hoops profile for the people that don't know. Also, probably need to shave a little bit.
I tell that to myself like every time we record. So
I was like, just seeing myself now, I'm like, man, yeah, I'm looking a little burly, but it's all right.
No one has worse facial hair than me. No one in my family can grow facial hair.
It's
thankfully
the curse.
for my dad, he spent, he was in the military for 30 plus years. And so he had to keep a clean cut. But but the family genetics for me when it comes to facial, it's terrible.
Your dad literally cut out the facial hair genes out of your family. That's how strong his military training was.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
No, man, but thank you for his service to our country. Really appreciate that. My mom was in the military for 20 some odd years herself. So, and my brother's still in there. So I definitely always appreciate the sacrifices that they make. So I know how that goes. So awesome. And shout out to him nuking your facial hair for life. But let's talk about matter of fact, we're going to switch it up. We're not going to talk Final Four first. We're going to talk something that's very interesting, which is the transfer portal. Now, this used to be something that was kind of just like, nobody cares about the transfer portal. Few people are in it here and there. And usually if they're in it, it's a bad thing. But there's this thing called NIL. Name and license.
Name, image, and likeness.
Yeah, image and likeness. What did I say? License.
Yeah, you said
name,
license.
Image, and likeness. NIL. So it's a little fancy thing that happens to now make all that. Did you take money? Did you shave? No, shaving points is still illegal. But but did you take money? That is now a thing of the past. Nobody cares if you take money because now it's all pretty much legal through NIL. And so there's a lot more players than ever hitting the transfer portal, being consolidated from their smaller schools into these bigger schools, basically like a minor league college program, feeding into these larger blue blood programs. So let's talk about that. You have a list that you want to put up for the people, and we'll go through some of the notable names and what it could mean. Not only for the college basketball team, but basically for their NBA draft profile the following year in the 2026 NBA draft. I don't want to get too far down the weeds in the 2026 NBA draft talk, but it's just kind of a little overview of what we can expect. So Bennett Sturtz, first one on the list. He's the guard from Drake. Came out in the tournament to make national news. Really solid player, good feel. Talk to me about what this could mean for the Iowa Hawkeyes.
So what Sturtz did is what, it's a growing trend because like the criticism for the transfer portal, it's like, well, coaches do it all the time. Like they go from school to school because, they either get, a pay raise or they get just an upgrade in job. Like some of these guys, they start out as like in like D2 or they started as an assistant at a smaller school. Right. And then they elevate themselves to, a college coach in mid-major. Well, if they have a lot of success, some of these bigger programs will, have that. And in Bennett Sturt's case, he followed his head coach, Ben McCollum. Ben McCollum was a guy who we briefly mentioned on it here. We briefly mentioned it here before that, like he was a guy that won, I think it was 3 or 4 national titles at the D2 level.
Yep.
You know, became the Drake coach after DeVries left to go to West Virginia. And then obviously, you know, they have a 30 plus win season at Drake. He got the Iowa job. And then not long after, Bennett Sturtz, who was a guy who was rising up draft boards, I think. He's now at Iowa, master manipulator offensively, like, and I say that in like a complimentary way. But like, you know, a guard with like very good in the pick and roll. I think he's a little athletically challenged, but I do think
you're not wrong.
Yeah, he's going to be a guy that like he carves up defenses. He's very efficient with how he plays, and so I think this is very good for him just because it's like, okay, you're joining the Big Ten, one of the best conferences in the country. We now get to see you play consistently good competition on a night-by-night, game-by-game basis, especially in conference play. And it obviously increases his chances of making the NCAA tournament again.
Big time.
To where he was able to he did a good job in Drake's couple of games like this tournament, but like now you really get to prove yourself consistently and get better in that way. And so I think this is very good for him, as it will be for some of these other guys that we talked about that transfer from mid-majors into bigger programs.
Absolutely. I think it's a great thing for Sturtz, and I think it's a great thing for Iowa to upgrade and replenish some of their talent. And a lot of this, and the majority of this, is possible because of the NIL money. I mean, him following his coach is something that happened before, but not nearly as common as it is now with the NIL money. So he can get paid while he waits to try to see if he can make the league, and that's something that I think is a win for everybody involved, especially since schools and the NCAA themselves have been making billions of dollars off these kids for decades. So yeah, I'm not mad one bit at them getting that money. And speaking of NIL money, there's somebody that's next on this list, near and dear to your heart, that is probably getting a significant pay raise, and that is Donovan Dent.
Yep.
More than he would have probably got if he put his name into the draft pool.
Yep.
Donovan Dent's going to get paid handsomely. He's listed at 6'2", 185. You're very stuck on he's definitely that height. I think he's even smaller than that. But
with shoes, I think he's that high.
With shoes. Sorry, with shoes.
Yeah, with shoes, I think he's that high. I mean, I don't think he's 185.
Very true. Right.
If we're being honest, I don't think
much closer to 160. Right.
Yeah. I think I'm gonna look. I think he's from LA or like in that region.
Corona.
So he's heading home.
Yeah.
Which is that's a cool little like tidbit, I guess. Donovan Dent. But yeah, man, now he's, you know, again, it's the same line of thinking to a degree for certain, like that we just talked about with Sturtz. It's like, okay, he's at a mid-major program. I mean, obviously for Sturtz, the path was a little bit different because it was like, you know, he was at a D2 school and then he transferred to a mid-major. Then like for Dent, he's been at New Mexico for the last couple of seasons. And now he's at UCLA, who ironically enough, he just beat this last year, like New Mexico beat UCLA earlier in the season.
Right.
But yeah, like this is a very good move. Like he now joins a team in an established conference to where he's now able to consistently compete with them. And like, I don't know how much, just considering the size limitations of this, whether it be weight, height, whatever, I don't know how much he'll improve his draft stock. And we'll obviously know a lot more at this time next year, like, you know, who are the best guards in the class. I think I had him in my top 10.
You did.
For some reason that I just can't remember because it just all jumbled together in my head.
Yeah, we've done a lot of these shows, and list and things, so it's absolutely understandable. I'm interested to see what he can do at a higher level of competition on a day in and day out basis, and see what he can do at UCLA. So I'm very interested and I'm very happy for him. Adrian Willery, Colby Gillespie, I don't know any of these people. Silas Demery.
Gillespie, I know a little bit about.
Yeah.
Just because I was able to watch him a little bit in Seattle, and I mean, obviously throughout the season as well. Like, I think he'll help Tennessee. I don't know if we're just talking from a draft perspective.
Yeah, probably not.
I don't know how much this elevates him that much. But.
Yeah. Ryan Conwell, he's interesting because he was a pretty big part of that Xavier offense all season. How old is he? Because I believe he's pretty old, but I could be wrong. I could be misremembering.
Let me see if 247 says that.
No?
Nope.
Why won't they give their age? That's a weird one. Okay. I can look it up later. Matter of fact, let me look it up for you right now. Sorry. Oh, and there goes. Okay, everything's still up. I did click the X by accident, but I'll look up his stats, his info right now.
For Dean Thomas is another one that I mean, obviously him being in the Mountain West, I watched a ton of him.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's an NBA player. He's another one that's just very small.
Ryan's only 20. But somehow he's 20. Wait, how? He's played 3 seasons, so this is a senior year.
Did he reclassify?
Yeah, he had to have, because he's only 20.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's actually interesting. Him going to the Cardinals, see what he can do at Louisville. Liam McNeely, I mean Isaac. Very easy to mix that up. But no, we're not going to talk about him. Anybody else on the transfer portal list before we get to the Final Four? Jalil Bethia, I wanted to talk about him. He was one of the first people I scouted this season. He played for the University of Miami. A little bit of a hothead. The very first game I scouted of him, it was probably the first game of the season. He got into basically a fight over a loose ball. He was like on top of the guy, wouldn't let him up. Like, he got a technical and had to sit out. But he's athletic. He's got a nice midi game to him. But he really struggled like playing the organized game and reading and having a feel for the game. It got a little bit better as the year went on, so I'm very curious to see where he's going to go. To me, he's likely a one to want to get paid, but he's got nice height, he's got nice measurables. It'll be very interesting to see where he lands.
Yeah, right here. I know I'm scrolling all over the place.
That's all right.
A couple other guys like Lindenborg. Where is he going? He's probably going to get a massive NIL back. Keyshawn Hall, our guy. I'm surprised we didn't open the show with this, but he transferred to Auburn. This came out. We're recording this on Thursday, April 3rd. This came out on Wednesday, so yesterday. Awesome for him. Selfishly, I kind of hope that Pettiford stays, so we get to watch
that combination. Whew.
Yeah. That would be a lot of fun. Obviously, Pettiford's still playing in the Final Four. I think he's helped his draft stock this month.
Absolutely.
But yeah, most programs I don't think disclose how much these guys are making. I mean, somewhere some investigative reporter may find it.
So this season, the top 10 earners were the only ones that I believe that got announced or released somehow. However they got them. It was the top 10 NIL earners that I found. So yeah, he's probably going to get a massive bag. Who do you think gets a bigger bag, Hall or Lindenborg?
Probably Lindenborg.
Interesting. I think Hall's the better player. I think he's probably more marketable in my opinion, but
this is where we're like crossing hairs a little bit, because it's like I think Lindenborg's the better college player to where I think he gets the better NIL bag. But in terms of like a better player from a draft perspective, right. I agree with you.
Okay.
Like I think Lindenborg's the better college player. So I think he gets more money, or like a big program's going to give him more. That may not be the case next year though. Like at this time next year, like Hall may have a better season than Lindenberg, and we're having a totally different conversation.
I think Hall's going to blow the freak up, man. I think he's going to be
I'm with
massive in Auburn.
I'm surprised he didn't this year. Like we're surprised that he didn't this year, considering he he only led the Big 12 in scoring.
Only, right? Yeah. It's not like he didn't rebound and get assist either.
Right. And then a couple other guys that I want to mention. Swain was someone who was on my radar late. Mm-hmm. I haven't watched enough of him, but he's going to Trey Johnson, the Fighting Trey Johnsons.
Trey Johnson U.
Yeah, Trey Johnson U at Texas. So a little bit of interest about that. But Dunga and Vesar transferring, like obviously they have.
Watch them swap schools.
You think that's a possibility?
I just think it would be very funny because they're both big men. Dickinson's leaving Kansas, and there's going to be a hole in the middle for Arizona. Why can't Arizona? Yeah. So like, what if they just swapped schools? That would be hilarious.
That would be pretty funny.
Yeah.
No one else.
But I think let me real quick for Badunga. I think he's going to be a breakout next season. I think if he gets an opportunity to get consistent run, his ability to switch at that size, also his ability to block shots and rebound, I think he's going to be a breakout player in the conference. So he didn't really get a lot of run though. Do they show minutes per game?
Yeah.
It's like 17 minutes per game. Yeah, it's 16 minutes per game. So he didn't really get a lot of run. So if because 75-year-old Hunter Dickinson was playing the majority of the time, and KJ Adams, and so which is also weird that he's leaving. So I wonder what's going on with Self, because clearly Badunga would be the guy because both of those guys are going to be gone.
Yeah, that's true. I wonder if kind of what we led the show with. I wonder if it has something to do with NIL.
Maybe, yeah. Maybe he wants to get paid. Is there anybody else on this list that you wanted to discuss?
Nick Davidson, congratulations. You're going to Clemson.
Him and Shenlian together. Sheehan, or how do you pronounce that guy's name?
Shaflin. I don't know.
See?
Davidson's not an NBA guy, though. So
no. For
the sake of discussion and not my own personal bias.
All right, then let's talk about this.
AJ Lewis.
Saturday. Oh, that's shocking to me. I didn't know he entered the portal.
Same with
Catchings. Cannon Catchings is a big one. Big one.
But this one's interesting. I wonder if he thinks he's going to get less run at BYU next year, like assuming he stayed.
I was shocked as the year went on, he got less run. He was their best player for large stretches of the season when they would bring him off the bench. I didn't understand why he didn't get more run, period.
I just wonder, different positions to an extent, but I wonder if he thinks he's going to get less usage with AJ. Because BYU is a program that will have a lot of NIL money. So, yeah. I don't know if there's anyone else that's super notable from an NBA perspective.
Sorry about that.
All good, man. All good.
Yeah. Where'd we leave off?
Oh no, I was just saying that BYU is going to have a lot of money, and so
yeah.
With the AJ, they just have a lot of NIL money. They're in the Big 12 now. I wonder if he's searching for more opportunity elsewhere.
Yeah, I believe he probably is searching for a bigger role. Like I said, I think it's more role than NIL money. I think that he should have got more playing time during the this college season. Let's talk about this really small event that's happening on Saturday, where the University of Florida is going to play the Auburn Tigers in basketball, not football. And
not baseball.
No. baseball. There's no crying in Sorry, I'm old again. Yeah. So, what do you think is going to happen in this matchup? Who do you think wins, and what do you think is going to be the determining factor?
I think Florida does win. With Broom's arm / shoulder / like I don't know if like he'll be 100% healthy.
Yeah.
And I just think Florida, like, they're playing their best basketball. I mean, both teams are. They're obviously in the Final Four for a reason, no duh. But
Right.
I don't know.
I worry about Condon's lack of physicality.
Go on.
I worry about Condon's lack of physicality in a game like this. Because he's very tough, but he just gets pushed around and bullied. But at the same time, even in some of those earlier games, he didn't play a lot. They had other bigs that they went to because they were more physical, and it still worked out. So I definitely think they're too experienced of a team to succumb to Auburn. But my X factor of the game is Todd Pettiford, and if that kid continues to play like he's been playing all season in big games, it's going to be a wonderful matchup between him and Mr. Clayton Jr. To see who can pull the game out in the end. And both of those guys take and make tough, big shots.
Yeah.
I also think that Pettiford, from a draft standpoint, I don't even think there's a comparison. Somebody asked me, it was either in the 5 on the floor Discord or off the floor Discord for 5RSN, or it was on Twitter. One of the two. I can't remember. Again, because I'm old. But yeah, they asked me, who's the better prospect? Who would you rather have on the Miami Heat? Todd Pettiford and Clayton Jr. And it's not even close. I'd rather have Pettiford.
Yeah, I agree. Even though he is small, like much smaller.
And that came up as well. I wanted to clarify because famously on this channel, everybody knows I was all out on Rob Dillingham in the previous draft because he was historically small. But there's a few things with Rob Dillingham. He's a great athlete. He was very explosive in terms of, speed, but he didn't change directions very well. He didn't really read the game very well. He was just kind of going 100 miles an hour, all gas, no brakes. Didn't finish well around the rim at all. And he wasn't that high of a level of facilitator. Todd Pettiford, not only does he take and make big shots, he's got great change of pace, change of direction, change of speed. He's got a great feel for the game. He's an excellent facilitator. And in every single big game, he was the guy that Auburn turned to. Outside of one game where Janai Broom kind of took over down the stretch. But yeah, so I ultimately think it's going to be Florida, but I wouldn't count out Pettiford either. So I'm kind of torn on this one. Our bracket says Florida, though.
It's a difficult matchup for me to like predict just because it's like two very physical teams. Like I think if this game is played at Auburn's pace, Auburn wins. But I think if Florida, gets out and like goes a little bit, they push the tempo. They try to,
Pettiford can run too, though.
If it's a fast game, I think Florida wins. But it's one of those things where it's just like, I don't know how healthy Broom is. I think that's like this isn't great analysis, but like I think that's my X factor. Is like,
yeah,
how healthy
I mean, you're not wrong about that. With Broom out of the picture, their bigs aren't that imposing. And Florida's bigs can push them around. Yeah, I'm sticking with Florida, but I'm just telling you, man, I would not be shocked. Todd Pettiford goes on a heater and just keeps him in it and possibly hits a game winner at the buzzer or something like that.
I think it's going to be a close game either way.
Yes.
I don't know. I just lean Florida because I think they have more firepower if there's no Broom. Like
over under on Mazzara getting a technical foul in this game. Over under one technical.
You mean a half?
A half, yeah. Over under a half technical.
I'll go over.
I will also go over. I think it's an assurity that guy gets a technical. It's what he does. Just does silly things that irritates me. But there's a second game that's going to be on tonight. This tiny program that nobody's ever heard of, somewhere in North Carolina, called the Duke Blue Devils, are going to play. They're going to face off against the Houston Cougars. They got this guy named JoJo Tugler. He's the headliner. Oh, no, that's Cooper Flagg. My bad. Cooper Flagg is the headliner. Borderline generational talent. They have Con Knipple as their second best player. Kamon Malawach manning the middle. Tyrese Proctor, who's going to be a first-round pick. And Isaiah Evans coming off the bench. Do you think he comes out in the NBA draft?
I don't think Evans does now.
I don't think he should.
I agree.
I saw Dusty, the Spurs reporter from he was on Twitter. He had stated that the Spurs brass were in attendance watching the Duke practice. And he said, don't sleep on Isaiah Evans on how much NBA executives like that kid. And that caught my attention. I still don't think he comes out, though.
No.
What's your analysis on this game? Who do you think wins? And does Houston have anybody that you see as NBA worthy?
I mean, they have a couple of guys like Uzan, Roberts, Tug. I mean, not guys that I'm considering as like first round guys or anything like that, but I think guys that'll get an opportunity somewhere. LJ Cryer, he was like one of the best shooters in the entire country. I think someone's going to take a bet on him.
Good college player, not an NBA player.
Well, as like I think like as an undrafted, some team's going to take a
flyer. And somebody's going to take a flyer on him, but not. I don't think he gets drafted.
Yeah, I think Duke has too much talent.
That's where I'm at too.
Like, I think Houston's physicality will bother them, at least at the start of the game. Like, I do foresee that happening.
Yeah,
but I think Duke is another. I mean, again, Duke has the size they have. They're also a physical team.
I was going to say K2 isn't small and he doesn't shy away from contact.
And so I think Duke is the best team in the country right now.
Do you think Duke could beat them without Cooper Flagg? That's where we're at this point.
No.
I think they could.
Well, actually, yes, I think they can. I don't think they would.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I wouldn't bet against Malawach, Knipple, Proctor, and Isaiah Evans because then Evans would just play more. They go to a smaller rotation.
Zion.
I'm sorry?
Zion James.
Oh, yeah, and Zion James. That's what I'm saying. I think they still would win, even without Cooper Flagg.
I know I'm going on a tangent here when I say I am this close to losing my mind at the Knipple discourse online.
Oh, my God. You and me both.
It's crazy. I mean, again, Twitter's not real life, and it's not the broad scope of people, but, like, they talk about this dude like he's trash. And it's just like, what are we doing here? What are we doing here?
They're talking like if they got him in the draft, like say for example, Flagg's off the board, Harper's off the board, Bailey's off the board, Trey Johnson and Edgecombe and Kasparis. They're all off the board. They're acting like, oh my God, if I had to get Con Knipple, he's the worst player we could have ever gotten out of this draft. All he does is shoot threes and can't play defense and can't dribble. No, that's not Con Knipple.
It's
not
It's
K2
not.
at all.
See it. I'm just like, yeah. Anyway, I try not to get mad at people online because
right. Would you put Fears above K2 at this point?
No.
Yeah, me neither.
No. I'm just not. The two different players, sure.
Correct.
But I'm just not doing that. I'm just not.
Like if we did our tiers list again, which we're probably going to do, Knipple's going to be above Fears.
I think they're in a similar tier. Maybe if I had to lean one way or the other, I'm putting Knipple in a tier above Fears.
Yeah.
But I think they're in a similar tier, sure.
Yeah. I'm taking Knipple.
I'm taking Knipple.
Yeah. I think they're in a similar tier as well. I think what fears growth at the end of the season is a really big factor in my evaluation, like how much he grew, how quickly, his ability to be more physical, finish at the rim, and all that. But Con Knipple, in terms of just all around play, is an all around better player, and they're at their same age.
If Cooper Flagg wasn't on Duke,
K2's their best player.
We would be talking a whole lot more about Con Knipple more than we already do.
Right.
We talk about him a lot.
More than we already do. We talk about him a lot, for sure. Well, we're going to keep this a short episode today, just a 30-minute stream. We got the Heat game tonight. Follow us on playback.tv/5RSN. Also, give us a follow on Twitter. I'm Digital Adel. He is Matt Hanifan at
NPH_824_.
Because I'll never remember that.
Grabbed it and threw it down.
He did, man. You slam dunked. Matter of fact, you might have cradled it a little bit. Grabbed it, cradled it. Reverse. Have you ever dunked, Matt?
Yeah.
You told me this once.
It only see, this is when I was in high school when I actually had functioning knees.
Yeah.
I worked out.
Knees help.
I could still get up and grab rim now pretty easily, but I can't. People don't realize when it comes to dunking, grabbing rim doesn't mean you'll dunk. You got to get to right here.
Correct.
Or you got to get pretty high to do it. I've only done it cleanly maybe a couple of times.
I give you props for being able to do it. There's so many people that could never even fathom being able to dunk. So I give you those props, man.
I got long arms and
I like it.
Decent hops. I can't say great hops, but I had a 26, 27 inch vert at 6
Hey,
foot.
man, compared to regular people, that's good.
I think having the long arms and the big hands helped.
That actually helps. And I'm glad you said that. So one of the bigger things we emphasize in terms of measurables and evaluations is not height, but it is wingspan and hand size.
Yeah.
And it's for a reason.
Yeah.
So great dismount, Matt. I'll see you next time. See you tonight on Playback, my friend.